Hey, I'm Wes Bohr.
And I'm Caleb Cartwright.
And we're gay for quarterbacks.
Hip hop. Welcome to your new life in a fantasy football world. Episode 13. We made it. Another late one. We've been really bad lately. We don't mean to be, everyone, but we need a spanking. A nice, solid spanking.
We need to quit our jobs to solely focus on our 1 hour podcast once a week.
Yes, we need our dozen listeners to pay us enough money so we can quit our podcast, our regular jobs.
Each of you could pay us $500 on a weekly basis. It's doable.
We can do it. I don't mind that idea. As always, I am Caleb Cartwright, as you heard in our great, solid intro, and I'm joined by a vast historian on the Civil War, Mr. Wes Bohr.
Thank you, Caleb. I didn't understand the majority of those words.
Oh, I think I said ancillary.
That's the only big word I recognize that comes out of your big yapper. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, at LifeInAFFW. But we're going to make this one a little briefer than usual. As you remember, I made a promise to you guys, under 40 minutes. Also, because of our stinking work schedules, we have to do this during the day, so we're going to try and fend off the children. I barricaded myself in my room, and we're going to do our best. So
I imagine you with like those spears and pikes in the ground, like so as people run towards you, they just get impaled. So you just have like around your desk.
It's like at Helm's Deep when like the big doors barricaded, but like they're trying to reach in through the holes. And I'm like, I have a spear. I'm shoving through the holes. Get out of there. Yeah, back off.
Oh yeah. So let's get this started. Let's break into some news. And I know you were very excited to talk about the ideas being played with more and more, and it may not happen until the new CBA in 2021. But the possibility of an 18-game schedule has come into discussion again. Roger Goodell has even said very recently that he believes 4 preseason games are too much. And if they take preseason games away, they're going to want to do 18 games in the regular season. What do you think, Wes?
So I threw a feeler out there to see what people were thinking, because I have a very strong opinion on this. And it really, I don't know how you felt about it, Caleb, but it surprised me, the results. 22% of people couldn't care less what they do. 22% of people hate it. It's a moronic idea. And 56% of people said more games. I'm all for it. I agree with Goodell. 4 preseason games, it's kind of pointless. Maybe 2, maybe a third. I don't know, but 4 is just a little much. To add 2 games to the regular season is so GD stupid. I don't even know. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, man. I don't understand the logic. They make money, and that is the only benefit. Do you realize we might as well go to the freaking 7-Eleven down the road, get a little gasoline, pick up a set of matches while you're there, pile up all the record books, soak them, and light them on fire because they're destroyed. You will not be able to compare numbers ever again because you're adding 2 more games. Well, they say, well, you got to sit players. You know, your star players and everything will only still have 16 games. We'll just expand the rosters. That's
the 18-16 idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that even mean? Like, so you're gonna have Roethlisberger sitting in the? Do you pick Roethlisberger sitting in the middle of the year? You know, week 9, week 10, and then Cleveland comes in playing a Steelers team that's a shell. A shell of what they should be. It is so overcomplicated and so stupid for more money in a sport that absolutely is a giant when it comes to making money in the sports world. I mean, I think I was reading some huge season finale, Game of Thrones season finale, would have ranked like 33rd in NFL games last year for viewing. That's how crazy the NFL is right now. It has chokehold on entertainment. Why are they trying to squeeze more money out of what I believe, a perfect 16-game season.
Yeah, there's no reason for it. There's plenty of money in it, obviously. I am all for more football. I love football, but for the players' sake, especially that 18-16, yeah, you're going to have 2 games where it's just the backups that are playing. Do you really want that? Do you want to see all the backups play? Then it's basically a preseason game. And unfortunately, in that case, then it's going to have, bigger repercussions. And I don't know. I think things are fine the way they are. There's no reason to mess with it except for taking away some of these garbage preseason games and avoiding some of the injuries.
Yeah, I guess. I hate that I think it's going to happen, and I just think they don't realize what they're going to do. It's blindly following the money. That's all.
Yeah, and then they're going to have to pay these guys even more money.
Well, they wouldn't do it if they weren't going to be making more themselves. It's just,
yeah.
I just hate, 6,000-yard passing season might be the new thing. And, I hate how most of the records are going to be broken in the first season or two.
I guess the way I look at it, if they did it and they did that 16 games, so your player can only suit up for 16 games, that would keep the records intact because they still can only suit up for 16 games.
Yeah, but what's stupid
is
team
records will change.
Does the team get to choose when you sit those players?
I would assume.
I feel like that's so overly complicated and stupid.
Right. Yeah.
So you're going to have a bunch of scrub. Why don't they just throw a bunch of scrubs out there twice a week so you can have your team, or twice a season so you can have a full strength team? It's so head scratching. What teams are probably going to do is when you have a player that's kind of hurt, Roethlisberger might be going into a game questionable. They'll just say, "Well, we'll use your backup this week." I don't know. It's changing the game a lot more than I think they've thought over. I just think it's really going to change strategy and everything. I don't like it.
If they really want more revenue, I mean, add another night in there. Add Friday night games.
Dude, I would love football, more football throughout the week, just not more games. But whatever. Right. I think we've talked enough about it.
Some other minor points. Damian Williams, at least this point in the season, has been named, quote, the starter for that team. And you might not like this, Wes, but I've been thinking a lot about Damian Williams lately. And I've been thinking more and more that I don't personally want to draft him. I'm not saying he's not going to be successful, but I think more than any other, quote, starting running back, he will be in danger of losing his job to another player because they did draft a player pretty high. They have other running backs. I just think he's the kind of player that if he's not having success right away, they have no reason to stick to him. Know what I mean?
You might have a point. Yeah, like when you have a Le'Veon Bell and you give this guy ridiculous money, if he struggles for a while, you're not going to give his backup a good chunk of the yards to see what happens, and you don't have that much invested. You don't have that much invested in Damian Williams, but
That's my only worry.
Their running back they drafted this year was a 6th-round pick, Darwin Thompson out of Utah State. I don't feel like that guy or Carlos Hyde. Maybe if they had a David Montgomery or one of the high draft picks, 2nd or 3rd round running back, I'd be a little more timid, but I don't know.
I'm looking too much into it, but I guess just because of the value he stands, if he has success right away, great, he's fine. But
I agree with what you're saying. I'm just, if he keeps rising, I don't think he's a 1st-round pick. I'd be timid to take him early in the 2nd round, too. I like him. I hope he doesn't keep rising because he is a starter. I do like him, but I like a lot of other guys more than him.
Right. And I guess that's where the line will be drawn, depending on what his draft cost is, and here in another month or so. Leonard Fournette, for some reason, again, he wasn't attending OTAs, wasn't showing up. Don't understand this guy. You're given every chance in the world to prove yourself. Maybe at this point, he's just looking at, I'm going to play hard this year when I come in, and then I'm just going to another team. Very odd guy. I think we both agree that neither of us really want to draft Fournette.
Yeah, I talked myself completely out of him last week when I went over some things and realized he's never given us any sort of a decent season. Everyone's just excited about the name and what he did in college. He is injured all the time. He's acting like he's a big shot, skipping OTAs. What are you doing, man? Show up. Alfred Blue's getting a lot more reps.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a running back by committee, but he's not doing himself any favors by giving Blue more work in a new offense to him. So, yeah, he's a jerk.
You could have just said that. Yeah, he's a jerk. Todd Gurley, it's coming out that he is not going to be the bell cow back. They did draft very high in the draft a running back in the 3rd round. All signs between his health problems, videos surfacing, comments being made by the staff about how he's not prepared for a full workload. For me, it makes me more and more scared of Gurley. I'm hoping that he drops far enough back. I mean, in auction leads, maybe you can get him for in the $20 range, and I'd probably be okay having him there, because even if you get a half a season out of Todd Gurley, 15 carries a game, 5 receptions, something like that, I think he's going to be a really valuable back. But he's slowly slipping farther and farther out of that top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I was afraid of him before, to the point where I trembled. Now I'm to the point where I'm making stool in my pants when I think about him as a first rounder. I do not like it. You have no idea, man. I'm on a very much a Mexican-based diet right now. So
Yeah.
Let me play a quick game with you, Caleb. Yeah. Muy caliente! Okay, that was bad. Todd Gurley, do you take him over James Conner?
No, definitely not.
Do you take Todd Gurley over Damian Williams?
That might be your line right there, your best comp right now. Like
Damian Williams.
Yeah, you kind of... He's the starter, right? If Damian Williams is the starter on that team, you have to take Damian Williams.
See, I think Todd Gurley's only saving grace is I think he might not get near the carries, but I feel like they're going to use him in the red zone a lot as to scoring a couple 2-3 yard touchdowns, but I don't know.
That's the thing. He might be able to be nearly as successful with, a smaller workload. Sure, they're going to be afraid of him every time they're on the field, but maybe teams are going to back off a little bit thinking that he's not who he was, but he still crushed it last year.
I know I wouldn't take him without looking into his backup. Was it Darrell Henderson?
Yeah, absolutely have to take him.
Yep. Yeah. So to quote Gollum, it's too risky. It's too risky.
Could kind of understand that. Hey.
Yeah.
It's why doesn't Gollum introduce our next segment here?
I can't. I don't do Gollum things where I don't. Right. Why don't you do it? You're pretty good at it.
Oh, we're just going to introduce the quarterback rankings.
Oh, that kind of turned into something else. Quarterback rankings. Let me just preface this by saying that we were awfully close in our rankings. We differed in very few areas. Matt Ryan might be our biggest spread that we have. And yeah, that's it. I mean, there's clearly top tier quarterbacks. And so we're going to just break down a little bit on, we're going to try and do 8 today, maybe a few less. We're going to try and keep our time tight.
As tight as
possible. Tight. Wes, why don't you get us started off? You don't have to be Smeagol. No.
Caleb, what did the NFL coach say to the vending machine?
Give me my quarterback. Did I get it?
Couldn't even pretend and just play along. Yeah, had to ruin it. What do you want me to do? Andrew Luck, number 1.
If I don't ruin something every podcast,
your showmanship is lacking.
It is.
He's okay. Back to the quarterbacks. Consensus number 1, Andrew Luck. Not Patrick Mahomes, and I think this is where things are starting to sway a little for a few other people. Andrew Luck is our number 1. Both of us have him as 1. He has more weapons than he has ever had in his career. He's got T.Y. Hilton, a healthy Jack Doyle, Paris Campbell, the rookie at Ohio State, Devin Funchess, the free agent signing, Eric Ebron, the red zone monster, Marlon Mack, he had a 1-year absence last year because of the injury, and then he came back into a new system, and he thrived. So why don't you geniuses tell me how he's going to do with a healthy season from last year, going into a system he's already comfortable with? Those numbers are going to be better. I am going to be more aroused. I think he's... I think he might, when your draft comes along, might have passed Patrick Mahomes, especially with all the drama going on in Kansas City. I just like Andrew Luck a lot this year.
Yeah, they added a lot of weapons. They're building that offense to crush. So it's going to be hard to, because I don't like taking quarterbacks early, but if I had to, I would definitely, I would swipe Andrew Luck because they're just set up for victory. And, strength of schedule is a tricky thing to look at because it really doesn't mean a lot when it comes to most of the offense. But if we're paying attention to how defenses were at all, compared to who our second and third quarterback are going to be, the Packers have the 31st hardest schedule for quarterbacks. The Kansas City Chiefs has the 32nd hardest schedule for quarterbacks, whereas the Colts only have the sixth easiest. Again, you can only put so much weight into that, but all the signs just point as Andrew Luck having a more successful season.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You can't put too much weight on the strength of schedule, but when you're splitting hairs, it is a factor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned, Andrew Luck is both number one for us, and we also agree on our number two, which is Patrick Mahomes. There's not that much that needs to be said about Patrick Mahomes. The only thing that I will say, and we've talked about this before, is you can't plan another 50 touchdown season. High 30s, absolutely no problem, but he likely will be without Tyreek Hill. They have to replace some pieces here and there. Obviously, they don't have Kareem Hunt again. Patrick Mahomes is still going to be a good quarterback, but regression is going to be there. And so that's why both of us don't see him, really finishing at that number one position.
Yes, but by no means are we saying he's going to have a bad year.
No.
His coach is an offensive mastermind. Last year he outscored the number 2 quarterback around 6 points per game. Like, he was awesome last year. The difference between him and, let's say, Kirk Cousins, who was number 12, was almost 12 points per game. Like, that's a flex position, man. He had an insane year, and his regression is still going to be an amazing season. So, yes, he remains number 2 without Tyreek Hill. Might be a boost for Travis Kelce. We'll see. I'm sure Andy Reid is already conjuring up some crazy offensive scheme to make up for Hill. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. He's going to regress, but he's still going to have a top 3 quarterback season.
Yeah, absolutely. These next two we're going to kind of put together because we are split on them at 3 and 4. At 3, I have Aaron Rodgers at 3, and you have Baker Mayfield at 3. And I would like to hear your argument on Baker Mayfield being the number 3 quarterback on the season.
I know, I'm bad.
Bad. I'm bad, you know it.
Was that
No?
Celine Dion?
Yes, yeah. In her older years.
Don't you call me who's bad?
I should have let you do it. God.
Okay,
So,
are you
yeah.
going, Aaron
No,
Rodgers?
I said, yeah, I want to hear your take on Baker, actually.
Oh, you want to skip 3 and go to 4?
We'll talk about Aaron. We're going to talk about him together.
Okay, Baker mother-loving Mayfield. Last year, 4,300 yards, 33 touchdowns in 16 games. Psych, in only 13 games. After Hugh Jackson left, with those 8 games, he was on pace for over 4,500 yards and 38 touchdowns. Hey, here's a little treat fest for you. Take Odell Beckham Jr. Here, take Kareem Hunt. Guess what's going to happen to those numbers? They're going to get sexier. They're going to be too sexy, almost. The only thing that scares me is they have a better defense. So guess what? They're not going to be playing catch-up all the time. They might be running the ball a little more. But honestly, watching Baker Mayfield in college, watching his rookie year, it's just this guy. I don't say this a lot. I know it's overused on some of the shows that we watch, NFL, ESPN and stuff, but this guy has that factor where it's just, he's going to be a gunslinger, he's going to be a winner. It sucks because he's a Brown, and the Steelers have to play him twice a year, but just watching how he's connecting with Odell, and I know they're doing it in shorts, but he's going to have no issues with Odell Beckham joining the crowd. He's definitely a player's quarterback. He's jiving with everybody. He's not confrontational like Aaron Rodgers or feels like he's above everyone. I just feel like this guy is going to have an awesome, amazing season. I'm talking high 30s in the touchdowns, mid 4,000s for the yards. And I think there's less risk with him. Aaron Rodgers is older. He's going into a new system. He's always got that abrasive personality, whereas Baker Mayfield is just one of the guys in a system where he showed last year, the second half of the season, he's very comfortable with a bunch of guys that like him, and then add in arguably the most explosive, athletic wide receiver in the league, along with a running back that is excellent with receiving out of the backfield. It is going to be very interesting to just see how insane this offense is.
So for me, the only reason why I have Aaron Rodgers higher than Mayfield in this case is interceptions. And I think Aaron Rodgers is known for throwing very few interceptions, so he's going to do very few negative things to your team. Whereas Baker Mayfield, again, second-year quarterback, he's just statistically more likely going to make more mistakes earlier in his career.
That's true, but let me just say this to you. So Aaron Rodgers threw what? Two interceptions last year?
Yeah.
It's something ridiculous, by the way. And Baker Mayfield threw 14. So, yeah, that's a good point.
That's it.
But,
I mean,
but
I see Baker throwing a lot.
But my mindset is an interception is -2 points and a touchdown is +6 in most fantasy leagues. And I feel like Baker Mayfield's gunslinging ability will get you a few -2 points with interceptions more than Rodgers. But Rodgers played a full season last year and threw 25 touchdowns. Mayfield's gunslinging ability is going to get you more of those +6 touchdowns. And I think at the end of the day, that's why I have him slightly above Aaron Rodgers. I'm not busting on Rodgers, but I think at the end of the day, that gunslinging mentality might lose you a game or two, but in fantasy, that's something you want.
That's true. At the second half of the season, I could see his touchdowns regressing a little bit once they get Kareem Hunt in there. But they are very close. It's really hard. Back in our first episode or second episode, before Odell Beckham was brought to the team, I mentioned how much I love Baker Mayfield, and look at him. He's moved up so far on rankings.
Well, apparently I love him more than you do.
Just a little bit. It's okay. It's all right. You can die, but it's okay.
Is it okay? You sound like a little chapped.
Listen, you take my guy and make him your own, whatever.
Just make him happy.
Hey. Deshaun Watson comes in at our consensus number 5, and we both have him at number 5.
You're not going to say anything about Aaron Rodgers, or did you?
I did a little bit. I mean, there's only so much that needs to be said.
That's true. Okay.
If you want to talk more about him, you can. I know how much you love him.
Oh, go ahead.
So Deshaun Watson comes in at 5. I mean, he was magical in his first year when he came in before his injury, but as injuries like to show, they can definitely hamper you. The next season, last year, he came in. He did not come in too hot, but he got hotter as the year went on, and he stayed consistent and ended up finishing the year very high. So going into this season, healthy receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, arguably, again, the best receiver in the league currently. Will Fuller is healthy. Kiki Kuti going into his second season. He has some decent weapons. The running back core could be better. But Deshaun Watson, if everyone stays healthy, can have a monster touchdown year. I think that he could certainly battle for the top touchdown rate on the season.
A battle. I'll make this brief. Deshaun Watson, running quarterback. And as much as that sucks in the NFL because you're probably going to get beat up, in fantasy, that's a lot of bonuses for you. Extra
Love
point
Bonai.
every 10 yards and stuff. Only thing is his offensive line is rough. His health is rough. The lack of running back ability, I think helps him because it's more on his shoulders for you, which will give you more production. I'll just say this. Last year, dealt with a chest injury. No Will Fuller. How do you say his last name? Kuti?
Yeah, something like that.
Cooties. And he still finished as the quarterback number 4, which was ahead of Andrew Luck last year. So if he can somehow get that offensive line to jive and stay healthy and have a full, healthy receiving core, who knows, man? It'll be something we haven't seen, is a full healthy year from Watson and his line protecting him. And that could be pretty drool-worthy.
You probably still have to draft him too high, but, if you can get him to fall back a little bit, that's a good value. Do a couple quick more. Russell Wilson comes in at 6. Wes, you have him at 7. I have him at 6. Last year, again, he had probably one of the most efficient seasons that a quarterback can have. He did not throw the ball a lot, but he ended up with a decent amount of touchdowns. Most notably, probably the toughest thing for me, why I wouldn't rank him higher, is that they really took his rushing away. He ran for fewer yards last year than he has in a very long time. It's a running football team, but they want to use their running backs, which is good. You don't want your quarterback getting destroyed all the time. Where Russell Wilson signed a new contract, a very, very, very expensive contract. So he is going to be there. He's going to be their guy for a long time. And to me, it depends on how Metcalf comes along as a second receiver now that they lost Doug Baldwin for good. With the receivers that they have there, I can still see Russell Wilson finishing pretty high.
Honestly, I think Russell Wilson's a little overrated, to give you a hot take. Looking over his stats, so hot, it was a full rank below you. He was number 20 last year in passing attempts with 427. He played a full season and ranked 18th in passing yards. Now you take his number 1 target, Doug Baldwin, away. You have a run-first offense. I don't think everything. I mean, like you said, his rushing is one of his strengths, and they took that away last year. Now, he did have the touchdowns last year. He had 35, but which one was the goof up? Is the touchdowns not sustainable, or will he throw for more yards? I think you took his main weapon away. I just don't think he's going to have that great of a year. So that's good. Why he's
I can see it.
7.
At our consensus 7, Wes, you have him at 6, and I have him back at 9, and we don't need to talk about it. Matt Ryan, he finished second, I believe, overall last season for fantasy quarterbacks in 6-point touchdown leagues, which I learned recently that the average league is only 4 points per touchdown.
Say what?
Yeah, I thought the normal was 6 because that makes sense to me, but no, apparently the norm is 4. Anyway, so Matt Ryan comes in. He does have weapons. He has Julio Jones. He has Calvin Ridley. He has Austin Hooper, even for those that don't like Austin Hooper a lot. He has, hopefully, a healthy Devontae Freeman, Ito Smith. He has a great, solid base. They have a fantastic offense. Now, last year, their defense got destroyed with injuries very early in the season, and so they had to rely on their offense and score a ton of points more and more. If they have a very healthy defense this season, I don't think the offense will have to step up quite as much, so you'll see some regression. And just looking at the history of Matt Ryan, he's gone back and forth every single year. It could break, and he won't have outside of the top 10 finish, but this is why I have him back at 9. Just that he seems to have great seasons and then regress, and then a great season and then regress.
Yeah, that's a good point. He is a little hot and cold. I will say this about Matt Ryan. Last year, 8.36 yards an attempt, which was leading quarterbacks. He has healthy Julio Jones, a healthy Calvin Ridley, who's apparently blowing people away in practice right now with another year under his belt and being more comfortable with Matt Ryan. Comfortable in that system again. And yes, the defense and Devontae Freeman coming back might take a little bit away from him. But I think the fact that you don't have to pay a lot for him, like, say, a Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, get him in maybe the 8th and 9th round, and probably end up with a top 3-4 production, that's why I like him so much.
Yeah.
That's why I like him, Caleb. So get
That's
off
why I
my
want to
back.
keep him back at 9 so he falls farther.
So you're playing a head game with me.
Yeah, with myself. Jared Goff actually comes in as our consensus number 8. And I think I mentioned this last week, maybe, that if all 3 of his top receivers, between Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and the other guy that I'm forgetting, if all 3 of them are healthy, Brandon Cooks are healthy for the season, and they come in and they have their full gambit. Now, again, adding another stud running back in the draft, I think Jared Goff can easily finish way above his ADP, and I'll be even more excited about him. But for now, we'll be a little bit more bearish on him and keep him back at 8.
Did you just say gambit?
Yeah, full gambit. No?
A device, action, or opening remark, typically one entailing a degree of risk. And a bunch of pictures of the X-Men. Gambit was pretty cool. He had like a bow staff and cards.
Yeah, he adds kinetic energy to items or something, and that's why he would just like throw them. And
they never really did anything with Gambit in the movies.
They had one. The actor that played, in Wolverine, the actor that played in that Disney movie, John Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's why it failed.
You think they should have made, he's a pretty dang cool character.
Yeah. Did they bring him in any of the newer X-Men's?
No.
Oh, guess not.
No. Side note, not as high on the new X-Men's. Not a big fan.
No, I agree.
I haven't even seen, I haven't really kept up to date with them. It's kind of sad because they're trying pretty hard.
Yeah, okay. I have no intention of seeing Dark Phoenix, whatever.
Yeah, I've already seen the Phoenix, which was basically X-Men 3 with Wolverine. I think you take Wolverine out, it just takes a lot out. It's like taking Tom Brady out of the Patriots offense. It changes everything. See, I segued to football. Okay, Jared Goff, I'll make this very brief. He's going to have a healthy trio and a hobbled Gurley. It's like the opposite of Matt Ryan. Last year, he had a bad defense with an injured running back. He had to throw more. This year, they have healthy receivers on the Rams. The defense has lost a few pieces. Now, they replaced them with some older guys, but still. And your running back is a rookie and a all-pro who has arthritis in his knee. So I think they're going to rely more on Goff, especially with him getting another year. They gaining more trust in him. I think we could see a big year from Goff.
I like it. Again, another one that I'm happy to get in the later round.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's it for quarterback rankings. We'll finish off quarterbacks next week. Now we're going to evaluate everyone's favorite team to hate, the New England Patriots. Wes, do you want to start us off, or you want me to get into it?
You can start, and then I'll pick. They're not my favorite team to hate. I hate hating them because I'm so tired of hating them. Like it used to be like,
a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah. It's what goes on inside my head and my emotions is just a very rough thing. I'm so tired of Tom Brady's face. I'm tired of the Patriots always just being there. Like, go away. What's the matter with you? You have a family, Tom Brady? Why don't you go freaking enjoy them? Okay.
It's like the Golden State Warriors right now in the NBA. You know, they're just
but
been in the finals enough.
They've been in the finals for what? This is their 5th year
in a row.
Tom Brady has been tormenting me since I was in middle school. For God's sake.
That's true.
Go away. I want some time in my middle age to enjoy football without you ruining it.
So,
go ahead.
The Patriots, in the draft, their first pick, they grabbed N'Keal Harry, wide receiver from Arizona State. Everybody was pretty excited about him going to the Patriots. he could immediately slot in as a fantastic piece of that offense. They grabbed a lot of defensive players, and then in the third round, also, they grabbed Damian Harris, a running back from Alabama, which is, we've talked about before, is a bit confusing, seeing as how they drafted Sony Michel so high last year. They also have Rex Burkhead, Brandon Bolden, James White. They have a lot of players. And then you have to worry about James Devlin vulturing some touchdowns at the goal line. So Tom Brady obviously is still there. Coaching staff has remained much the same. Wide receivers, Julian Edelman, N'Keal Harry, as we talked, but they have, oh my gosh, a dozen or so wide receivers on their roster right now, as well as 6 tight ends on their roster as they're trying to replace Gronkowski. Benjamin Watson, Matt LaCosse, which news is coming out that he's expected to be their number 1 target at the moment. There is a lot of mouths to feed. There's definitely some value on the offense. I don't know that Tom Brady will finish as a top 10 quarterback, but the hardest part is the running back core to trust anyone, especially an early pick. Even we have, Sony Michel and James White ranked pretty high in the RB2 area, but it'll be hard to choose between one of them because one of them is going to get a lot of touchdowns. The other one's going to get a lot of carries. James White will get all the receptions, so James White might be the more valuable running back on that team. We expect them to be competitive, and you want players on good offenses. Just try not to pay too high for a lot of these players because there is a lot of room to throw the ball around, a lot of different players, a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, the Patriots, man. A couple of a-holes, seriously. I don't like them at all. I'm so tired of Boston, Red Sox, Bruins. Just Celtics, go away. And of course, they were like stinking masterminds in the offseason. They traded for Michael Bennett for like a 5th or 6th round pick, something ridiculous. They signed Jamie Collins, who they traded a couple years ago to the Browns for a decent draft pick, like a 2nd or 3rd draft pick. Just signed him for $1 million on a 1-year deal. They brought him back. They got Ben Watson, Demaryius Thomas, all low-risk contracts. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, I thought, was a good pickup, and he was for about 3 or 4 weeks. Then they cut him. Just to go over the draft real quick, you already touched on it. N'Keal Harry and Damian Harris, very similar in the fact that they can do just about everything on the field really well, but they never really do anything exceptional. And apparently, I know it's just the beginning, OTAs, but N'Keal Harry apparently is lining up all over the place in the wrong spots, which Belichick will probably beat him for doing that. My watch and avoid. Watch Damian Harris, as messy as that backfield is, just about every running back you look on that roster is an injury risk. And if things fall right, Damian Harris could be getting you a lot of points. Think James White last year. Sony Michel has a terrible knee. Rex Burkhead's health is terrible. So if those 2 guys go down, which I predict at some point they will, Damian Harris is going to step right in, and I feel like that would be a low risk, seeing that he's getting drafted very late. Your avoid, Caleb, would you like to tell me who my avoid is?
Tom Brady?
Thomas Brady.
Knew it.
Old man Brady. He finished 14 last season. He finished as the quarterback 17 the season before. You want to hear his high-powered offense? Julian Edelman, Dorsett, Matt LaCrosse, N'Keal Harry, a rookie. Doesn't really strike the fear into defenses. They ran the ball third most last year than any other team. So that's discouraging. Also, Gronkowski's gone. Is that a big deal? Chad is 6.89 yards an attempt without Gronkowski for Tom Brady, almost 8 yards an attempt with Gronkowski. The offense definitely gets a lot more conservative if that's possible without Gronkowski. Thing that I'm scratching my head about is he's still being the 14th quarterback taken. Caleb, you tell me who you would rather have, okay? And think fantasy, not trying to win games in the NFL, but fantasy. Tom Brady or Jameis Winston?
This year, Jameis Winston.
Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, Tom Brady's going ahead of those guys, Josh Allen, Derek Carr, that I feel like have a much higher ceiling than Tom Brady. So I'd avoid that guy. That's an easy avoid. But anyway.
He's had a lot of good years, but it's...
Yeah, but he's like 80 now. So those years are behind him. He's a very good game manager. He's still win a lot of games, but his stats aren't going to be there. And Bill Belichick is smart enough to know that. That's why they're doubling down on all these running backs.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Over under 11.
Yeah.
What do you say?
It's the Patriots, man. I don't know that this is the year that they get knocked off, but I'm gonna take. Oh, I gotta take the over on the Patriots. I'm sorry.
Yep, I thought this would be like a 12 or something. At 11, it's an over, just because they have the second easiest schedule. They play the Jets twice. They play the Bills twice. No offense, they play the Dolphins twice.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine anybody competing in that division this year, maybe next year.
I think we saw them last year. They're almost like the Golden State Warriors. They cruised through the regular season, which is one reason why I was thinking about the under, and then they come to play in the playoffs. But with their schedule, it's still going to be over 11. So, over.
All right, let's move on to the Bills. The Buffalo Bills. Let's start with their coaching staff. Sean McDermott is coming back again. They brought in offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. What?
We went over 40 minutes. God dang it, Caleb.
Listen, I've been trying to move it along.
Faster.
So the coordinator, again, he won national championship with Alabama in 2017, and he also coached in New England for 11 seasons and won 5 Super Bowls with them. So it seems like these AFC East teams are trying to always just grab whatever Patriots coaches they can so they can get information, but it doesn't really work that way. But as an offensive coordinator, it's a good move for them. In the draft, they got defensive tackle. They got the tackle Cody Ford at the top of the second round, which is a great grab for him. Devin Singletary, who, if he doesn't win the starting job this year, he will absolutely be the starting running back moving into next season. There's no way that LaShawn McCoy is going to stay relevant on that team. Unfortunately for him, he had a serious fallback last season. So LaShawn McCoy is listed as the starter now. I could still see him being traded. Frank Gore was brought in, TJ Yeldon. So there's no running back in that team that you're going to draft ahead of the 8th round. Wide receivers, they did bring in John Brown, who we both like. They still have Zay Jones. They brought in Cole Beasley. They have Robert Foster, Andre Roberts. A lot of players on that team as well. Josh Allen is a gunslinger. He loves to throw it deep. So a player like John Brown, to me, has really good value. Tyler Kroft, unfortunately, as we know, he got injured and is out for a long time. So they lose him. Their tight end crew is nothing fantastic. You're going to want to avoid that. But I do like Josh Allen, as a late round quarterback. I think you can get a lot of value in a very late pick because he runs a lot and he throws deep balls, and it's his second year and he can get even better. So I think there is value with Josh Allen, whether a streamer or a late quarterback, if you want to draft that late.
Very good. You covered the free agency pretty well. The draft, they nailed it. Ed Oliver, arguably the top defensive lineman. Cody Ford, arguably the top offensive lineman. Devin Singletary, great running back. Third-round pick Dawson Knox out of Ole Miss, I believe. Tight end. You can think of him. I heard his comp is George Kittle, so that might get your ears all...
Ooh, I'm feeling tingly.
Yep, tingly from head to toe, especially in the middle. Something to watch. Something to watch. I think all those wide receivers, I think one that'll emerge as fantasy relevant is, believe it or not, I wasn't high on this guy at all, and I'm still not, but if I had to pick one, Cole Beasley. Double-digit PPR last year, 6 games. 2 out of his 3 seasons, he's had at least 65 catches and 670 yards. Last year, he had more targets than DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton. And I just think with Josh Allen, he's going to be maybe like a Wes Welker, check down king. So in PPR leagues, I definitely think he's draftable and someone you should keep your eye on. Avoid that running back mess, man. At least if you're in a redraft league. Dynasty's a different story, but you got Frank Gore, you got LaShawn McCoy, you got TJ Yeldon, and you got Devin Singletary.
It's a lot.
Just stay away from it. Devin Singletary, like you said, next year that mess is going to be cleaned up pretty well. But this year, it's kind of ugly. So I like him, and I like Josh Allen. I think he's going to have a good year too. So,
who's your avoid? Did you say
the running backs? Every single one of those guys.
Okay.
But I just like Cole Beasley. He's cool.
Yeah. Over under on Buffalo is 6.5. I can take the over on this one. I think they could win 7 games.
God, yeah. This was a hard one, man. These two teams were hard ones, but 6.5, God, they know what they're doing. That is right on. I want to say 6 and 10, but I ended up writing down 7 and 9. So, yeah, barely over, but not one I'd put money on.
No. And that's your Buffalo Bills. Sorry if we didn't spend enough time. Feel free to send us some questions, or if you want us to go in depth on any more players, we certainly will as the season goes on.
Certainly.
Hey, but we got through it. This is we actually cut down time, so hopefully it didn't seem too rushed. Wes, did you have one more question you wanted to ask?
Oh, Caleb, I like to put a poll out there once in a while that's not relevant to fantasy football, and I sort of wanted your take on this. Breakfast for dinner. Fan or hate it?
It's one of my favorite things. I love breakfast for dinner. My wife makes it at least once a week. She'll make something, whether eggs Benedict, or she'll make a scramble, or she'll do just eggs and bacon and a bunch of stuff. And I love breakfast for dinner. I don't think it's an everyday thing, but I could eat breakfast all day. Personally.
One might say a treat.
Oh, a treat indeed.
A treat.
What about
indeed.
you? Do you like breakfast for dinner?
Oh, I think breakfast food has been given a real raw deal because it is amazing. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, pancakes. Oh, Lord!
If I was at a breakfast buffet right now,
gosh, man,
I'd be naked.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
So yeah, I do.
But I feel like in the morning, I'm not a morning person. I don't feel like making big breakfasts. Yeah. I love the food. I want to grab a bagel and go to work. So
that's why places
dinner,
are so popular in the morning.
And what surprised me is 30% of people said they don't really care. They're like, whatever. It's like, what's the matter with you fools? God almighty.
They're not our friends. You guys stay away.
Yeah. If you haven't eaten bacon and eggs past 5 o'clock in the afternoon, unsubscribe. No, don't.
And we just lost everybody.
Yep, that was all of them.
Okay, hey, we got it. 13 done. Congratulations. Somehow our shortest episode ever. Yeah, maybe people don't want that, but this is actually the appropriate time. I'm thinking like around 50 minutes is like where I would like to be.
And if you can shut your mouth in the next 55 seconds, we'll keep it under 50 minutes. So...
Okay. I love everyone. Even you, Wes. And
thanks,
yes,
Caleb.
I'm still gay for quarterbacks.
I'm more gay than I was 49 minutes ago. So I think, I don't know what that means. The children have broken down the door and made it into the room, so I am being...
Yeah, I've heard the door banging.
I've been overtaken. I'm conceding, and...
Bye, everybody.
That's it.